Hey, Trent and Jason here from Thunder Underground, and today we're going to talk about the brand new album from Havok, their fifth album, aptly titled 5, Roman numeral 5 to be exact.
I wonder where they came up with that.
They could be big fans of Greek culture.
I know I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what we are big fans of is Havok. We know that.
Of course.
Much. So we were excited to be able to get an advanced copy of this to talk about it, because their first 4 albums are great. And it's been about 3 years since the last one, so we've finally got a new one here from Havok, and they don't disappoint.
No, I mean it's thrash-tastic all the way around, all the way through. You're not gonna get disappointed. You're not gonna be let down. This is the kind of stuff we live for, really.
Yeah.
It's to use a phrase, it's right in our wheelhouse.
Right. Havok does a great job of, they sound modern, but they sound like thrash bands from the 80s in a way, because they're everything, it doesn't sound super polished or overproduced. You've got the bass and drums are just as important as the vocals and the guitar. I noticed that in all these songs, and that's kind of how thrash, I think, started.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of bands over time kind of got too polished. I'm not talking about the big ones. That was obvious with Metallica or Megadeth or whoever. But I mean, I think in the 90s, thrash was a little more polished, even from the smaller bands. But now with this resurgence with Havok, and you've got bands like Municipal Waste and Toxic Holocaust and Battlecross, even Power Trip, that are waving the flag. And Havok, has always kind of been, at least for me, has kind of been the one that was the most, I don't know what the right way to say it, just kind of like championing it the best, I guess.
I see.
I
see. Well, and
I've named Power Trip and Battlecross as my favorite bands of the genre, but Havok, I think, is more just to the point when it comes to this.
And you're right. It's brought us back to the rawness and the realness of it. Brought us back to the puffy white high tops and the battle vests.
Yeah.
And a little bit more away from, I don't know, the Bob Rockish elements of, because it's, you are right. It's like when the Black Album came out, they all had to do their Black Album.
Yeah.
And it's
even
just
Testament,
Yeah. I mean, Exodus kind of did one in a way, and even Suicidal. So, but we could go on about that. That's a different fucking thing. But yes, no, you're right. Havok, they really are kind of the forefront of this kind of resurgence, shall we say?
Yeah, the new wave of American thrash, is that a term that hasn't been used yet?
Well, if not, you just did it. I don't know.
Nah, there's too many new waves of something. Just another wave of thrash, basically.
Exactly.
But I have to pull this up. Sorry, I don't have all this memorized. But you mentioned the first 2 songs come out right at the gate.
Post-Truth Era and Fear Campaign.
Fear Campaign was released as a single, so we knew ahead of time. But
and that one's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's a great lead-off single to get people pumped for this. And then the 4th track, Ritual of the Mind, to me, not just when it was intro, and I thought this kind of reminds me of Metallica because it had that fade in like Black.
Yeah.
But then even musically, it reminded me of Metallica until he starts singing. And in typical fashion, his voice shifts it away from that. I always thought his voice has elements of Mark Osweda from Death Angel. So, and that to me is one of the best thrash bands of all time, underrated by far. So, for me, that's awesome whenever I hear elements of Death Angel throughout their music. But I mean, the whole thing, like a random dorky side note, I thought if you're a thrash band, a metal band, or a hardcore band, and you're looking for a name for your band, just scroll through this list of songs.
Right. I mean,
like every one of these song titles could be the name of a band.
Well, and you're right, because how has there not been a band called Fear Campaign yet?
Yeah, or Phantom Force.
Right? I would fucking listen to that shit hard.
Yeah.
So anybody out there you go.
Cosmetic Surgery. That could be a death metal band.
From Beverly Hills.
Yeah. You got Merchants of Death. There's your death metal band.
Right.
Anything, whatever. That's kind of off to the point. But Havok's one of those bands, straight through, our hashtag all killer, no filler. They've always done that. There's no let up in the songs, kind of like what Exodus, would say.
Mm-hmm.
Still, 5 albums and still no ballads?
Right.
You don't need to whenever you're just pounding thrash.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're Havok.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And if you've never seen them live do that too, I know that's off the subject of the album, but these guys are fantastic, and I hope a lot more people than just the regular fan base pays attention to these guys, because just like I mentioned, Municipal Waste and Toxic Holocaust and Battlecross and Power Trip, all these bands are doing stuff that more metalheads need to pay attention to, I think.
Of course.
So, check it out, May 1st, which is probably today by the time you're seeing this, and it's on Century Media. So, pull this thing up, buy it wherever you buy music, which these days is online probably. You can't go in a record store if that even exists in your area. So, get on your Amazons, iTunes, whatever, buy this album, you'll love it, stream it, YouTube, all that great crap.
Also, sorry, I didn't interrupt.
No.
Before we wrap up, I really, in this is no different with this new release, but I like their the lyrics, kind of their message.
Yeah.
They're a little bit, almost conspiracy theory, but also, well, that's a good fucking point.
Yeah.
And, forgive me, I can't remember the title of it, but one of the lines is, talking about how, there's a war on drugs except the ones they
want to sell.
Yeah, I'm just like, that's fucking brilliant, and it's so goddamn true.
Right.
So, along with, the talent and the speed and the artistry of all this music, you get shit that makes you think, and then, and it kind of challenges, the establishment and the government and the authority, which is what we're all here for anyways.
Right.
So why we listen to this shit? So,
and that's another token of thrash too, with bands like Megadeth and Death Angel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong.
Absolutely. And if you haven't listened to our podcast, right below us, you can click on any of those links and check it out. We've had on, we mentioned Megadeth, we've had on David Elfson, found on Chris Broderick, who's also an Act of Defiance, and In Flames now. And we've had on...
Yeah, pretty much.
Ted from Death Angel. We've had on 2 of the members of Battlecross. We've had on the vocalist for Insight a couple times as well.
Trevor from Haunt.
Yeah. And then, just bands like Superjoint, Crowbar, Down, all across the board metal. And we even get, hard rock, all that great stuff. So just dig through there, check it out, subscribe to this channel here on YouTube so you can see all our future videos, and be sure to pick up Havok May 1st. All right, till next time.